Hi, I'm Tracy. I'm a qualified counselor coach, recovering control freak. Let me take you back to a season that felt so chaotic. I was juggling so much that I felt like I was consistently running on fumes. I don't know if you've ever felt that way. I thought if I just worked a bit harder, pushed a little bit more, I'd keep all the plates spinning. But the truth was, I was exhausted and I really quickly lost sight of what really mattered to me. I think our greatest fear is that we're striving in our own strength. Proverbs 29:18 says, where there's no vision, no redemptive revelation of God, in brackets, it's the amplified version, the people perish. Interestingly, the word perish translates to take the leader, to act as the leader. When we lack divine vision, we don't just struggle. What tends to happen is we take matters into our own hands, relying on our own strength to keep everything spinning. So instead of living with purpose, we substitute sovereign vision for an exhausting plate spinning existence. We let go of God's leadership and we take on the role as leader ourselves. It's a little bit like driving with a foggy windscreen. You're moving, but you can't actually see where you're going. And this is the tension in which many of us live. The big idea for this episode is that clarity begins with honesty, not hustle. When we break our priorities repeatedly, we start to lose confidence in ourselves. We start to lose trust in ourselves. And this episode will guide you through the final steps of the Wheel of Life reflection tool and the process associated to intentionally move from chaos to clarity. I guess the bigger question is, what if we stopped striving and started aligning? What if the clarity we're craving isn't found in doing more, being better organized, having more tools, more apps? What if it's actually about getting honest about where we really, truly are? So the first step is to revisit the Wheel of Life. In earlier episodes, we mapped out the different areas of life and we rated our current satisfaction. And here's why pausing to focus matters. Where your attention goes, your energy flows, because it allows you time to reflect on your current reality and really process what's going on. Why am I prioritizing the things that I am? Why am I feeling the way that I am? So it allows you to acknowledge the gap between your real and your ideal. And that's the heart of this exercise, acknowledging what is real right now, a bit like a snapshot, a Polaroid photo that gives you a clear picture of what life looks like today, whatever the date is for you listening to this. So you want to acknowledge what's real for you right now, but then also you want to aspire to some ideals. When we see clearly where we are, we can begin to shift our attention towards where we want to be. And this pause helps us move from the chaos of the present moment into the clarity of a preferred future. So today, I want you to take that further. I want you to imagine your ideal levels in each area of your life, each area that you've identified in the Wheel of Life. Not perfection, but enough. So, for example, instead of saying, I want the perfect marriage, maybe the ideal is we connect weekly with intentional conversation. And then you can actually schedule that into your calendar. Another example might be, instead of aiming for a spotless house every day, the ideal could be we keep one or two key spaces tidy so that home feels peaceful and less chaotic. Another example could be, instead of chasing the perfect work-life balance, the ideal might be I finish work on time 3 nights a week so I can be present with my family. You see how this step shifts our focus from survival to vision. Research from Harvard Business Review highlights that people who create value-aligned goals experience higher well-being and sustained motivation compared to those who simply try harder. The second thing I want you to do is to connect the dots. Reflecting is how we repair. Just like pausing to review our focus, we also need to review what may be creating barriers to us realizing our ideal, especially when we feel stuck. I want you to think of Marie Kondo, who sparked a minimalist revolution with the spark joy. She encouraged people to hold items and ask, does this spark joy? In the same way, I'd love you to examine what's shaping your patterns and notice how your body and spirit respond. Everyday barriers could look like feeling guilty if the house isn't spotless. Now, that might be rooted in a belief that your worth is tied to how well you manage your home, or believing that you must always say yes to work commitment to prove your value, or assuming that rest is actually laziness instead of recognizing it as necessary for your well-being. You see how these beliefs become barriers to you making changes to move from your present reality, chaos, to your ideal with clarity. So as you connect and reflect on the dot on your wheel, pause and ask, what expectations or barriers are shaping this picture? Which ones are supporting me, supporting the life that I feel called to live? And which ones just need to be reframed, need to be clarified? Now, look at your wheel. Notice the patterns that may be present. Is there an area that's getting most of your energy while others are being neglected? Are there areas you pour into that leave you drained rather than refreshed? Do you see cycles, like always prioritizing work at the expense of rest, or constantly caring for others while setting aside your own physical and mental well-being? Again, we are not aiming for a perfectly balanced wheel. Life has seasons. It's okay to live with tensions. But if one spoke is consistently neglected and feeling the pressure every time there's momentum moving forward, eventually that ride is going to get bumpy, and eventually you're going to do damage to that area. And remember, when we break our own priorities repeatedly, we start to lose trust in ourselves, in our capacity to bring about change. I know for myself that for years I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to meal prep. Starting this Monday, I would get Monday meal prep done, but the next week I would be too busy. And eventually that eroded my confidence in doing what I knew needed to happen in order for me to care for my own well-being. You'll be happy to know I now meal prep every week. Yeah. This is why honesty matters way more than hustle. Okay, step 3, from clarity to action. Clarity without action keeps us stuck. Doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter what you think. It's actually what you do that makes the difference. And not only that, it's what you do consistently that will get you the outcomes that you want. But here's the thing, action doesn't mean a massive overhaul. It's just about one aligned, sustainable step. Each step should move us towards the life we believe aligns with God's plan for us. We get to choose. We get to choose. We are called to steward our decisions with intention. It's not your partner's responsibility. It's not your friend's responsibility. It's not your pastor's responsibility. It's also not God's responsibility to shift the world so that you are more able to make sustainable decisions. He's already done everything. He's given us Jesus, and you have so got this. Choose one small shift this week. For example, scheduling a non negotiable walk. I actually started walking consistently most days, not every day, most days, by not putting on my shoes and my exercise gear, but literally my thongs, my flip flops, I think you call them in the States. And I would go out after I've had dinner and just go for a walk around the block. But that slowly grew because I did it consistently. Schedule a non negotiable walk, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be the full hour. Say no to one commitment. Have a look at your calendar and have a look at one thing that you can actually practice your own sense of agency and just say, you know what? I can't do that. I can't do that anymore. Maybe starting the morning with stillness and quiet instead of scrolling. Put your phone in a different room, put it in a drawer so you don't see it when you wake first thing in the morning. Sometimes clarity is best built in shorter windows. You don't have to map out the next 5 years. Try creating a 90-day focus. I love 90-day focuses. It's 3 months. It's long enough to give you some room to breathe. You don't feel the pressure, but it's also short enough that you have to hustle a little bit. You have to build a little bit of momentum. Ask yourself, what is one area of life I want to strengthen in the next 3 months? Then set 1 or 2 simple actions to move you forward towards that. Maybe relationships. I'm going to commit to a weekly coffee catch up with a friend or a fortnightly. Maybe it's your health. Plan a 90-day movement challenge that fits in with your season. Spiritual growth. Read one book of the Bible over 90 days and then journal some reflections. Short-term clarity like this gives you direction and momentum without the pressure of long-term perfection. And when you act from alignment, not pressure, you build trust with yourself and you create momentum. Scripture reminds us, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him and he will make your paths straight. That's in Proverbs 3:5-6. Research also supports that studies on value-based action say that when you are aligning with your core beliefs, you are going to experience greater psychological resilience and long-term well-being. So let me leave you with this reflection. What's one action I can take to close the gap between where I am and where I'm called to be? I'd love you to write that down somewhere for yourself. You can share it in the comments or maybe just share what resonated with you because connection and accountability really matter. And if this series, this episode, if it resonates, make sure to subscribe to Coach Aligned's YouTube channel and follow us on socials for encouragement, tools, and other conversations like this that help you live aligned. If you want to go deeper, I would also love to invite you to purchase and download the Live Aligned ebook. There's a link up there in the bio. It will walk you through step by step through these tools and heaps more in way more detail. There's no pressure. It's just an invitation. And then finally, join us for some fun when Darlene and I finally get together and have a great conversation. So till next time, it's bye for now.